Hello and welcome everybody. This is Jason Hodges from AgTerra. Thank you for attending our SprayLogger Basics training webinar. Today, just as a reminder, we're going to be going over the webinar for about 45 minutes in which we will be presenting the information concerning getting started up from an administrative standpoint of view with SprayLogger on the desktop side, how to bring over that information into your mobile application, how to start and stop a job, and finally how to get that information in the form of reports and maps and exported information from the SprayLogger website. After that, we will open up the lines for 15 minutes for phone calls concerning details about the presentation. If you have questions concerning your particular account or advanced details, we will be coming, you're welcome to call us and email us about those pertaining to your account, but also know that in mid-March, we will be doing another presentation for SprayLogger Advanced Concepts. Also, we do have the chat line available. You should notice on your GoToMeeting a little box that enables you to type in a question. We do have representatives on standby if you do have a question, and so we make that available. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. And so again, thank you everybody for attending. And let's get going on the SprayLogger webinar here. So first things we're going to cover is the SprayLogger desktop administration, where we're going to go over how to set up your equipment default, your chemicals, targets, and your applicators. That way you've got some drop-down menus available for your applicators out in the field, and that information carries over. Next, we're going to go over how that information is downloaded to the device in the field, and then how it is used so that jobs can start and stop. And then finally, the maps and reporting that are available once that information is in the system that administrators can generate for customers. They can export out in various formats. And so let's go ahead and get started on the SprayLogger administration side on the website. So we're going to go ahead and open up the SprayLogger website here. And right off the bat, you'll notice here that we have this administration tab, and this is where we're going to be focusing our efforts first thing. And we have these in order. This is it is for a reason that we have these menu items listed out the way they are. We're going to just one by one and go step by step. So the first thing we're going to focus on is sensor setup. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. When you're in there, you should already have your SprayLogger box already registered in the system. But if you don't, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and walk through how to get that up and running. So first, we're going to go ahead and click the Add New SprayLogger. And here, we can go ahead and just put in the serial number. So if you have a SprayLogger E3 or latest series, that SprayLogger serial number is going to be located on the bottom of your box. If you have a question, if you have an older box or where this might be located at, the quickest way to find this is when you open up your mobile device and pair to it, the serial number is what actually comes up on your device. You can also call us here at the office to find out. But we're going to go ahead and put in E3B 3104 and put that in. And if you already have it in there, you're just going to see this come up and letting you know. This may be if you have disabled a device. Now, if you have, you click OK, and that's now going to be available, 3104. And so you can see that now has been reactivated and ready to go. And so this is great if you go back and you have previous boxes that you have done, you can show up that information. But if you have a brand new box, this enables you to kind of put that in there and find it. So once we have the box in there, the next thing that you're going to want to do is choose what kind of SprayLogger box that you have. By default, it's going to be selected at none. And so you can see we have our mobile box or backpack box, go ahead, E3. By default, what you're also going to have here is reject pulses, reject if all booms are turned off. This is a safety feature that was included last year in our system. This is relevant if you have a newer box that has multiple sections or booms. Basically, this enables your device to only record if you have a boom activated. So if you have high vibration, air in the line, things like that, this feature will make it so your box is more accurate. So once you have that done, you can hit save and you're ready to go. The next thing we're going to do is add a flow sensor. So you can see I already have one in here. And where this information comes from is right off of your flow sensor that that was included in your package. So here we have a picture of our flow sensor, and down here we've got a couple pieces of text on here that we want to pay attention to. The first is range. We're going to have a low number and we're going to have a high number. The low number is what you want to remember and write down, and then also your pulses is what you're going to want to record as well, because it's that information that we're going to record here. So just to do one from scratch, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one out. Now I have my different ports in here. By default, you should be on port A. For minimum GPM on my flow sensor, I'm going to do 0.66, but your flow sensor may be different, so put in what is relevant to yours. And then you're also going to want to put in your K factor. In the case of the flow sensor I'm using, it's 1500. Metered is if you are using a box that uses, rather than a flow sensor, a metered port. This is for ultra low flow products such as our SprayLogger, or if you're using an injection port. I'm going to go ahead and hit add new. And if I hit my plus sign again, you will see here that you now have that information recorded. So we're all done with our SprayLogger. Next, we're going to go to equipment, and then we're going to go to spray rigs. And just like before, you'll notice that I've got a number of SprayLoggers in here, but or a number of spray rigs in here, but what we're going to review is how to put one in from scratch. And so what you're going to do is go to add new spray rig, and you're going to come up to a new menu. Now, the spray rig number that is strictly for sorting your spray rigs on the previous page. It doesn't have any bearing on your mapping or on the application. So in this case, I'm just going to put number 6. For description, you're going to want to put in your spray rig. So I'm going to put in AgTerra right away truck 23. When was your vehicle calibrated? Just select your date. What's it calibrated for? This particular rig does 30 gallons per acre. Now, I will note here that while we have gallons, if you're using the metric system, under profiles and administration, you do have the ability to select between imperial and metric so that you can show liters and hectares versus acres and show the appropriate amount system for what you are doing in your country. Next, billing. You don't have to put in billing, but this is going to come in handy down when it comes to the reporting side. So I'm going to go ahead and put billing in, but again, you can leave it blank if you want to. And then what is the default boom width that you have? For this particular rig, it's 30 feet from end to end. And then what is the SprayLogger box that's going to be associated with this particular rig so that these settings can carry over. And so I'm going to pick that box. And then lastly, we have a little icon. And this is going to come into the mapping side on the desktop where we'll see that a little bit later. And then finally, we have what's the color of your spray lines and no spray lines when you generate maps. I'm happy with the blue and the green. And we're going to go ahead and hit create. And so now we have a spray rig available in here. Well, next thing I'm going to want to do is we have our rig listed here. What you're going to want to do is go to, if you want to change any of the settings under here, just to show you can hit that little edit tool, and that'll bring you right back here, and you can change that. But next, you're going to want to add your different sections or different booms. And this is the can really correctly map where you're spraying and how wide you're spraying. This can come into your acres and things like that. So we're going to want to hit configure booms. And on this particular rig, I don't have anything set up yet. So what you're going to want to do is hit add, and let's give it a name. So I'm going to go ahead and put in right 10. Now, you don't have to put in this. Generally, on a SprayLogger box, and I'll show you real quick, your box is by default, the standard unit is going to come with 3 section ports and then 1 flow sensor port. In general, people do left, center, and right, but if you have maybe a DOT truck or something like that, and maybe all of them are on the right for a right 5-foot boom, 10-foot boom, 20-foot boom, do however what fits your particular unit. In this case, we're just going to do a right 10-foot. We want this to be to the right, and so you see my line move here to the right, and that represents my spray line. How wide is your truck? So if you have an ATV, this is going to be more narrow than a 10-foot wide truck. And again, you're going to want to put in what's appropriate to your spray rig so it maps correctly. And then how wide is that line? It's 10 feet. And there is a 1 foot offset on this. And so that's going to move my line. So this is how it's going to map when you begin mapping. Now we want to put this on a switch port and then channel 1. And there you go. So let's go ahead and add 2 other booms to this real quick. Let's do left 10. 10 feet wide, 1 foot offset, and switch 2. And then finally, we want our center bone. Now on this one, I'm going to compensate for my offset. So you can see here now there's a 1 foot on each side, compensating for my offset that I have on my left and right, and that's just how this particular rig is set up. And I'm going to go and put in the flow switch, and then finally channel 3. And so now this rig is set up. All we need to do is hit the back to spray rigs button. And here we have everything ready to go. And so there you have it. You have your rig set up. Now, so that takes care of equipment. Next thing you're going to want to do is set up your chemicals. Once you go to the chemicals page, you'll see any pre-existing chemicals you have listed in here, but we want to go ahead and add some Tordon. I don't know the EPA number, or I'm really bad speller, so I want to make sure I get the active ingredient just right. And so up here, there is a link to the MSDS website for the database. So I can do a quick search, and I can type in Tordon. And there we go. There's Tordon K. I can just click on that. Now, I can highlight that with my mouse, and then I can right-click and hit copy. I can go back to my tab here, and then from here, you can just click paste. Whoops, that's for my EPA number, Butterfingers. I can go here to active ingredient, and there you go, paste that in. We're going to do the same thing for the EPA number. You're going to select that, right-click for copy, and then right-click for paste. And there we go. Now you can put in your cost in here, and we want this per fluid ounce. You can put in your RAI and then hit insert. Now, if you ever need to edit this information, say your costs go up, you can hit your edit button right here and then make adjustments to it as you need to. Now, note, any changes that you do in the system will not affect previous reports. And so if you've collected information that was from last year and you had a price increase in your product, that price increase will not be reflected on your previous reports. They will be only going forward. That way it protects the integrity of your reporting. Now that we have our chemicals in there, we want to go ahead and go to tank mixes. And so this is where you're really going to put in those blends so that your applicators, all they need to do is select from a drop-down, and your product rates are already in the system. So very simply, you just put it in a tank mix name. Is it going to be by the gallon mode or by acres mode? And then again for order number, and this is really for sorting only for this page, doesn't have any bearing on the application. I'm going to put in 100 and then hit insert. I can hit my plus button to expand. So now, so that you can add chemicals, you have this box right here. You can go ahead and select the chemical that you want. So then you have your full list. I'm going to put in Tordon 22K. You can put in whatever you need to. What's the amount? In this case, it's going to be 5 fluid ounces per 1 gallon, and hit add. And then you can continue to add chemicals as you need to by selecting more boxes down here. So let's go ahead and put in some milestones. Let's put in 4 fluid ounces per 1 gallon and hit add. And as you do that, you'll notice that the percentages for the blend are in here as well. It tells me how much is carrier, and then how much is chemical 1 and chemical 2. And that's it. That's all it takes in order to build your chemicals and then your tank mix. Next, you're going to want to go to targets. So targets, when your applicator's in the field applying product, they have the ability to tag what it is you're spraying. This is not mandatory, but this does make it so that it's on the reporting side, give you some pretty complete reports so you can see where you sprayed cheatgrass at, where you sprayed some Canada thistle, different things like that. And so you can simply type in a name here, put in a number. Again, all this does is sort out on this particular page, and then hit insert. Very simple. If you need to change any of these names, you can hit the edit button, adjust the name as you need to, and then adjust the number if you want to as well. And that's all it takes for targets. Next is people. So at the very top here, we have a legacy system for creating users in the system. The PDF document that will go out at the end of this presentation will actually have a direct link on how to create users. Users are now created in the MapItFast system, and there is a direct how-to link specifically for creating users. So we're not going to go over that in this particular meeting. That will be on the link that's provided in the PDF. And it's about a little 5-minute video that goes over that. So next, we're going to go over applicators and customers. Applicators is really simple. So from the drop-down list, this enables an applicator to choose their name as the person who is applying product. What is the license number? And the license number isn't required. Really, the only thing that's required is the name. When does their license expire? And again, same with billing rate. You don't have to put one in there, but you can. And then the number for ordering on the system here. And once you're done, hit insert. And now that has inserted them. Now, if you want to add additional information, so for instance, here's Matthew Hodges, you can put in the name, city, state by clicking the edit button and then filling out that information. Because some states do require that information to be recorded on the report, and this is how you can do that. And lastly, for this particular section that we're reviewing today, is going to be over customers. And this is simply so that the applicator from the field can tag who the job is for. And so they can enter in a name, put in the number, and that's into your list. To delete someone, simply hit the X button, and then they're out of the system. We do have some other tools down here for customization. Those will be covered under the next presentation in mid-March under Advanced SprayLogger Concepts. And so with that, let's go ahead and do a brief review of what we've gone over. We've gone over how to access the administration menu on the SprayLogger website and how to work your way down that list so that you can build out a complete drop-down list for your applicators to select from the field so that you can get some advanced mapping reporting from it. How to set up your sensors, how to set up your spray rigs, how to quickly enter in your chemicals and then combine those chemicals into a tank mix, how to list out targets so that your applicator can select them as you're spraying, and then how to add customer names and applicators onto the profile section. Again, this is a PDF that will be provided at the end of the presentation. Here's a specific link on how to calibrate your spray rig. Today we just put in the default, but here's a link on how to actually do a specific calibration for your spray rig so that your gallons are reading correctly, or your liters. Some basic link for MapItFast user setup, and then some Stratter basics. And this will come important here in just a minute. This will go over how you can attach some information or create some additional information on your SprayLogger reporting. But we include that link in there as well. And here's the password, because these are protected websites, and you will need this password in order to access that information. So next, Now that we have all this information entered into the system, you're going to want to have this downloaded and ready for the app, and then also make that ready to use. So here we're at the office, and we have a GPS set up here at the office that makes it look like we're driving down the road just for demonstration purposes. So this is under the assumption that you have already set up your spray rig and that you already have the equipment installed. So we're moving forward from this point of we're ready to connect our box and to download the information. So we're going to go ahead and expand this window. I have the SprayLogger box right here. We're going to want to go ahead and hit connect. And usually that can take, well, you see right away, it connected immediately and you have it available. So down here, I have a box that says use SprayLogger GPS. Your particular system may or may not require this. If you have a SprayLogger E3 or a unit that has a GPS inside of it, then that's going to use that particular GPS. In this case, where I'm using GPS in my office, I'm going to deselect that. If you have an old SprayLogger mobile, if you have a backpack unit or another unit, you're going to want to make sure that that is unchecked. So next thing that we're going to want to do is download that information that has been recorded. And so we're going to want to go to Settings, Totals and Reprogramming. And this is going to grab the calibration. So on the desktop side where we put in under Sensor the flow range and then the minimum GPM, this is going to download that information. The whole device is set and calibrated correctly for the equipment we're using. And all you need to do is make sure you have an internet connection first, but then you're going to want to hit Reprogram Unit from Cloud. And that's going to grab that information, bring it over. It's going to verify that that information is correct, and then you're done. Next, we're going to want to bring over those lists that we've created with customers, with applicators, targets, all that. So you're going to hit the settings icon, and you're going to hit Get SprayLogger List from Server. And you can see it connecting immediately and downloading that information. And so all those lists, everything that we've done, is now available here on our device. So we're ready to begin. We can start a job. So we want to go ahead and hit Start Job. And right from the very beginning, we want to enter in a job name. It looks like my keyboard is giving me a little bit of a fit here. Pardon me for a moment. There we go. Sorry about that. So you can type in a name and begin a new job name, or what you can do is select, just as I did here, from a pre-existing job that has already been done. And so that gives you the ability to pick up right where you left off on a particular job. And so this makes it so that your applicator doesn't have any waste, they don't have any crossover lines, they don't over-apply on a particular spot. It lets them go pick up right where they left off on a particular job. Next thing that you have is customer. And so they have the ability to select from that, from a customer list. This was entered in on the website. Have the spray rig that was done. In this case, we want our bench rig. And then you have your tank mix. And so you can select whatever tank mix that you want. Now, there are multiple tank mixes here, so if you have multiple tanks on your system with multiple flow sensors, you can select those as needed. And then lastly, you have applicator down here to select who is actually doing the job. Now, we do also have a couple other options down here at the very bottom. These are some safety presets. The first one is to record the spray job to the box. This is in case, if you happen to have a noisy cab where you have a lot of electronics, maybe a radio, where you find that you drop your Bluetooth signal frequently, what this will enable you to do is record that information to your SprayLogger box first, and then it puts it out to your device. You do have a little bit of lag on what the applicator sees on their display, but the benefit is that if your Bluetooth does not drop, you continue recording so that that applicator can get to a safe position, they can reconnect and continue on down the road. So this is a great feature that's included in our new SprayLogger E3 boxes that came out in 2018. The next one here is record a line if the flow sensor is not working, but the booms are activated. Let's face it, sometimes equipment fails, your flow sensor might fail. So this, if you have a boom that's activated or section, this will enable SprayLogger to continue to paint a spray line even if the flow sensor is not recording anything. Now, you will still have to go back and do a gallon adjustment to put in the proper gallons, but at least you won't have a gap in your map. And then the last one is set default. So you can see here, I had a number of these already filled out. If I have a job that I'm on for 3, 4, 5 days in a row, rather than having to fill out this information over and over again, I can save those as default. And so that will enable your applicator to really only have to enter in the job name. So once you're done, all you need to do is hit start job, and then your job is going to start immediately. And so as you're going through, you'll notice that I've got a little green line that's come down on here, and that's my no spray line. And so that will record, that shows where I'm driving and I'm not applying any particular product, or you're not applying any particular product. Next here on the side, we have our list of targets. And so you can select from your list here, from that target list that was entered earlier on the computer, what was actually being sprayed. And so that has that information recorded. Up the top, if you want to see what sections are active, you have the ability to see that information here. So you can see here, I just turned on my right boom, and so I can see that that has been turned on, and I can see that right there. And so this enables you and the applicator to quickly see what boom is turned on and where. So this is really when it gets into that important mapping and setting up those booms so that they are properly set up so they display appropriately. You can also see that as down here that information is being recorded. In this case, I have gallons, but again, if you're on a metric system, that can be changed to display metric as well. And so here you've got acres sprayed, miles sprayed, because I'm on Imperial. I can see if my booms turn on and off. I can see if I pause in a particular spot rather than a line. If there's an area that I'm putting an extra amount of chemical on, I will get a little splotch like that. And that just is indicative of, hey, I paused for a minute and I have some additional chemical put there. I also have weather data and also my miles per hour, how fast I'm going. Again, this can all be, if you're on the metric system, converted to display in metric versus Imperial. I want to do kind of weather. If I'm online, weather data will automatically come in, but if I'm offline, I can click on this. I have the ability to manually input in my weather, including inversion and wind direction and wind speed. Now, I also have the ability, and I'm going to pause my job real quick and kind of move this window out of the way, to switch from counting up and counting down. So in this scenario, I actually have the spray rate counting down. I started out a 500-gallon tank, and I'm counting down. If you want to switch that to counting up, you can hit pause job. Click in your section there. And here I put in my 500 gallons, and you can see where I have what's remaining in that. If I want to change that, I want to keep that the same here, so I'm going to click this second box. And I have the ability to put in a tank value if I want to. Now, up here, if I want to switch it to counting up, I just click that button. There we go. And I can hit reset, and that'll reset it to 0. I'm going to go ahead and hit close, and then there's my information reflected. Now, when I'm ready to go, I can just hit resume job, and that'll continue on. And then lastly, when I'm ready to stop my job, all I need to do is hit stop job. Now, actually, before I hit stop job, there's one other thing I want to note is if your applicator comes across something where they need to add notes to what they've done, they can do that here in the comments box. Maybe they had to stop a job early because it began to rain, or some other instance, they can hit comments, and then they can add a new comment to this particular application, and they can do as many as they need to. One more thing I want to point out is the ability to add advanced strider forms. Now, we'll cover this in detail in another presentation in March, but here, if you have a strider form that is enabled for SprayLogger, you can collect far more information that may be relevant to your operation. For instance, the state of Florida may not collect the same information that the state of Washington does. I know in some areas that they require, if you're doing private land spraying, to get parcel ID number, land ownership information, things like that. That information is easily collected on a form and then can be appended to your document. But again, we'll cover that in detail. We do have a link on how to create strider forms in this PDF, which I showed you a little bit earlier. So I'm done. The applicator is done. They can hit Stop Job, and then they're ready to go. There are some additional things in here about how to do ad hoc tank mixes so that applicators can blend on the fly, how to force sync. That information, we actually have short videos embedded in this PDF to review as well, and we will also go over it in our next SprayLogger presentation. So to go over what we've covered in this last section, first, how to connect your SprayLogger box. This is important. I didn't mention it, but we do have it here. The newer units, they do actually have an onboard computer, and it's important that you wait 90 seconds before you actually, between the time that you power on your SprayLogger box, and then this lets the computer inside fully boot. I apologize for not mentioning that, but we do have that listed here. Make sure you have an internet connection so that you can download any information from the desktop. The admin settings that need to be, how those can get into your SprayLogger rig, how to reprogram your unit, and again, for specifically how to calibrate your rig, we have a short video link here. So rather than just the default on your flow sensor, how to really fine-tune your rig, we have that right here. How to start and stop jobs, how to view live application details, and then after that, how we can make adjustments. We have links to all of this, some Map It Fast basics, how to do chemical adjustments, how to do ad hoc tank adjustments, how to do count up and count down. Here we reviewed this for the ad hoc and the chemical amounts, like I promised you. Here are the links on how to do that. So we have that available here with that password. And so next, we're going to want to go into maps reporting. So we have all this information. So now we get that out of the system, and we want to generate some reports. And so let's go ahead and go to back to the SprayLogger website. But first, we're going to do a quick detour, and we're going to go to Map It Fast. So first thing, from an administrative standpoint of view, if I want to see a quick view of where I have jobs at, I'm going to go ahead and hit this SprayLogger button down here. And right away, those little icons that we told you about earlier, so for instance, the bench rig that I just selected here a moment ago, or whatever spray rigs that I have, I can select and have those available here, and then those icons will specifically load. Now I'm going to go ahead and hide this out of the way, and I'm going to look for any particular job. So we have a list of all our active jobs. There's that AgTerra right-of-way job. We have all sorts of other ones. I'm going to pull up one, even going back as far as last year, over in Montana, and hit load. And so that'll take you right to that job. So here I can see it in its entirety. And this comes again to the importance of setting up your booms. And so you can see here that I've got just a short little 5-foot boom, switch out to my 20-foot right boom, and you can see how those turn on and off. The little green lines are no spray lines, start time, stop time, vehicle speed, and then the blue lines actually then show all of my information and select from some drop down. So I got start time, stop time, spray width, any gallon adjustments that have been done, any targets that have been done, my SprayLogger box, my average speed, accuracy, gallons, and then individual chemical amounts. I have that information loaded there. So I have all that within quick detail. Now let's kind of get to the meat of what we're looking at, and let's go to the SprayLogger website. And so up here at the top, you can either go directly to the SprayLogger website, or you can just jump right into one of our menu buttons here. And so this just took me to Jobs and Reports. How I got there from the website is on the home page, you hit Jobs and Maps, and that lists out all the jobs that I have available. Now, if I need to make any adjustments, and let's face it, mistakes happen. People can, even with drop-down boxes, select the wrong item. I can hit that Edit button. From here, I'm going to see job details. So if you want to add any additional comment, maybe correct the job name, you can do that here. This is the application we just did here a few minutes ago. If I want to view a quick map of this particular application, I can do, and there's my line. And I can even print that off. And so you can hand off a print copy to a customer who maybe walks in the office and they just want a quick print of it. You can do it right there. Or if you want to edit any details on that, you can. If you need to make an adjustment, maybe your calibration's a little bit off, they did the wrong spray rig, you can adjust that here. If you want to add another pesticide applicator, maybe there's a second person in the rig, or change or delete whoever was there because the wrong person was selected. If you need to adjust the billing rate, maybe you're a commercial contractor, your rate's a little bit different from customer to customer, you can adjust that here. Again, we can see a chemical adjustment, weather data. Maybe the weather information that came in was different from where you're actually at. You can adjust that if you need to. Additional costs, maybe you have a fuel surcharge. You put in the name of your cost, the amount, and then the cost, and that will be appended to your report. Strider forms, again, we showed briefly how to attach that from the app by clicking the button. You can do the same thing here. We will go into greater detail in the next presentation, but again, this shows where an admin can add a Strider form if need be. And then target. Now, I will give a word of caution on target. Generally, that is done from the application so that they can designate at a particular spray line where a target was applied. If you do it from here, so for instance, if I click leafy spurge, or if you do that, all of the spray line on that application will have that target. If you're going out and you're doing a particular spray job where it's all cannabis thistle, fine. But generally, I would use this as a last resort if the applicator just did not tag appropriately. And then finally, you'll be able to see any comments that were entered here, or you can enter to make any adjustments as you need to. Now that we have all this information, if we want to do a quick report, I can hit Generate Report. And then from here, that is going to take the information that has been gathered, and I can print it, or I can save it as a PDF or Word document. But let's go over some of this information. Up at the top, we have the job name, customer name, time frame, so it's just for today, but if you had multiple applications on multiple days, you'd see the full date range. Number of applications, number of miles logged, of those miles that were treated, gallons applied. Now again, if you have the metric system, this will update appropriately with showing metric, acres treated, and then here's where those costs come into play that I was talking earlier about, where you have equipment, labor, chemical costs. This gives you the ability to print off an invoice right from the system. Makes it really handy. Here I have my individual chemical amounts of what was done or what was applied. And then underneath, I have my individual application. This is important because at the top where I have multiple applications, if you have a job that spans 3, 4, 5 days, where you have multiple applications, all of those individual records will be included here on the report. So if you have 4 applications, you're going to get 4 versions of this for each application that was done. You'll have the application number, gallons applied, acres treated, your rig capacity, how much chemical does your rig hold, your billing basis, your spray rig billing units, the tank mix description, miles logged, miles treated, any application comments are going to go here, your individual chemical amounts, even down to the cost of the applicator, the start time and stop time, and then your weather details. All that information is captured and included for complete reporting. If you have any other details, that will be included on here as well. But let's go ahead and go back to the SprayLogger webpage and see real quickly how to generate that from a list of filters. So here I have the date range. So when you first come to the jobs report, you can see that SprayLogger by default will start at the beginning of the month at your end and show you how many reports that you have available. I can change this date range to any time. Whoops. To any time span that I want, and so that it will show appropriately and show me all the jobs I have available. So from January 2018 to this year, I have 16 jobs. Now I could just hit generate report from here, but if you did that, you're going to have 16 individual reports that will come out. And if you want that, that's fine. But if I just want a particular report, I can just select it from here. Now, if I want to weed this down and say, well, I'm only looking for reports that had Dyer's woad in them, then that narrows down my list for me. Or maybe something that had noxious weeds in there, so I can generate just reports pertaining to that filter. I can do that you can do that for customers, for additional parameters, spray rigs, whatever the case may be. We do have some additional report features, but we'll go over those in the advanced training section. And so that's how you can filter through it. And we'll go ahead and move forward. We've already generated a report and shown what's included in that, because our last section here that we're going to want to review is the exporting data. So you can see the same filters up here, but the key difference on this is that these filters are now going to be summarized. And so what that means is I have this full date range. I have 16 jobs. However many jobs you have here, if you were to generate that as a Google Earth file, it would have all 16 jobs combined into one map. That is a powerful tool, especially if you're doing reports for your board, maps for your board. You can put in the date range for your year, you hit generate, and it's going to show everything that was done for that year. In this case, I'm going to select that one Montana job and hit download. I'm going to go ahead and open that up in Google Earth. If you're generating a map for a client and they don't have their own geodatabase, Google Earth gives them the ability to have an application for free, because Google Earth does not cost any money, and then they can download that, and then they can view the map that you have generated for that particular job. And so I'm going to pull this over here. Whoops. Do that again. And that's going to zoom right to that area. And then there's that job. And all those details that we showed on Map It Fast a few minutes ago. This is wonderful. You can create a map and then email it to your clients, even if they don't have a geodatabase, and they can see all the relevant details for that particular job or multiple jobs. Same here with targets. Again, a key difference here is that I can select noxious weeds, and I have 3 jobs available. And whatever your filters are, you can select that, and it will generate a single map, a single KMZ file with those 3 jobs, and so you can see all your KMZ stuff. Now, finally, if you are our GIS friends who like to have their own information in a geodatabase, you can do that here. You can download that information as a shapefile and then even as a CSV. I'll do one last one. We're running right up on 45 minutes, and we're almost done. But I'm going to go ahead and download this CSV because I think it's important to share it with you. Once you download this CSV and you open that up, what this is going to enable you to see is really everything that has happened down to a single job or even with multiple jobs. I'm going to bring that over because every time a change is made in the system, whether you have turned a boom on and off, you've adjusted a tank mix, weather data, anything, all of that information is recorded in its entirety. And so we have every piece of data. So if you generate a year-end report where you have all of your jobs, or even just for a particular customer, and you export it as a CSV, you then have the ability to run your own custom reports. So for those of you that are familiar, this is a really, you know, maybe look up some tutorials online on YouTube. That's a great resource of where you can learn how to generate your own reports off of this information. Maybe you want to know how much you applied for hound's tongue this year, or a particular chemical. This will give you that information. So finally, just to summarize here, we've gone over how to take information that has been collected on a mobile device and quickly load that and view it in MapItFast using the little SprayLogger button so that you can see what is going on in the field as an administrator. How many jobs and application details can be edited for accuracy within the jobs and maps section. Once that, you can generate a report. These are just a few of the items that are included on that. There's many more we went over, for the range of applications, total chemical amount used, acre sprayed weather, and so much more. Then lastly, how you can export that information into a number of file formats, whether it's a KMZ, shapefile, CSV, or even a GPX. And so with that, a reminder, our next training session is going to be on March 13th at 9 a.m. In addition to the links that we've provided in this PDF, this is a great resource as well, help.agterra.com. That has a number of videos on MapItFast, SprayLogger, and Strider. The password is the same. That's included in the document, one tap to map. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at solutions.agterra.com. And so at this point, we're going to go ahead and open the line and answer any questions that, that the group may have. So give me one moment. And everybody's live. So please, if you have a question concerning the materials that have been covered today, ask away.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is a pretty cool application that you have here. And I was curious, is there a way that you can query data from the map view? Or do you have to get it from that back from logging into the website and getting in it that way? Like, can you highlight?
So there's a couple different ways. If you're just doing the quick view here in MapItFast, it's not to query this particular information. However, the other two exports that we showed you, where you could export out as either a KMZ or as a shapefile. Shapefile is particularly handy if you have a geodatabase and you're doing spatial analysis, because you can then query that information within there. In Google Earth, they do have some minor tools, and just to show you real quick, let me see if I still have it. Everything that is recorded here on Google Earth, you actually have every single individual spray line, so I can, and no spray line, so I can click on that and view the data. They do have some basic search parameters that you can do. You just have to work with that. We're not really Google Earth experts here. There are some tutorials on YouTube on how to more fully use this, but you do have those options available. Probably the best query tool, though, is if you have a geodatabase of your own, in which you can bring this information in for analysis.
Yeah, we do. We have ArcGIS and another platform we're using called Fulcrum that we can.
Then you have everything you need. The file that is downloaded, and I'll download actually a copy of it real quick just so you can see what is included in that. I'm going to do a shapefile export, and I'm going to do this MT job, and I'm going to download it, and this gives you a zipped file. And so you can see you have everything you need. You have your DBF files, you have your PRJ files,
nice.
spray and spray lines, everything available to you. So I'm going to open this up, and my DBF viewer is not on here, and I apologize for that. I can actually open that up.
Oh, no worries. I know how that works because I use it. I use it almost all the time. So I
Very
totally
good. But
get
yeah,
where-
that DBF file is going to have everything you need in order to view that information.
Okay. And then how long, the historical data on this, how long is it stored for?
As long as you retain an account with us, it is indefinite. So whether that's 1 year or 10 years, that information is stored on our servers. Now, if for whatever reason you decide to leave, we do retain that information for up to 1 year before it's destroyed. The information is yours. You own it. We don't sell it. We don't give it to anybody else. It is your information. So as long as you maintain an account with us, it's indefinite. Unless you go into the system and delete it yourself, it's stored in the system.
Okay. Is there different levels of access to accounts that you have, or how does that work?
And that is, we will go over that in the next training session, but I did include a link for it in this PDF of how to set up user permissions. And so you have, on the MapItFast side, an admin level and a user level and even customer level, and those do carry over to the SprayLogger side as well, so that you can adjust what different users can see and what they can do.
How long have you guys been running this application? How long has it been out?
Well, AgTerra actually turns 15 years next.
That won't be long.
Oh, wow.
And SprayLogger has been around for 8-9 years, 10 years now. So we've been doing this a long time.
Okay. How much? Where can I find the associated costs with accounts and all that kind of stuff?
If you, after the presentation, if you were email or call us, we'll be happy to go over those details with you personally, and even can put together a specific quote for you, if you want.
Because I would be piggybacking off of somebody who already has an account, so I wouldn't necessarily need to be in there to make edits or anything like that. I would just need it basically for data export is all I would need.
If you give us a call after the presentation, we'll be happy to review that with you.
Okay, cool. I will do that. I think that's it on my end. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? And we do have about 8 minutes left, so please, if anybody else has questions, ask away. Okay. Well, thank you everybody again for attending the webinar. This will be made available and a link emailed out to everybody who's submitted a request to attend. We'll also, again, like our other webinars, have this on our help.agterra.com website. Like the caller here, if you have any particular questions pertaining to your operation or some more advanced features, we'd be happy to answer those for you. You just email us at solutions@agterra.com, or here at the bottom of our page, you can see that we have our phone number, 307-673-1050. Give us a call and we'll be happy to answer anything. Thank you again for attending. We appreciate it and have a wonderful day.